Today, we're diving deep into a story that's, well, it's heartbreaking, obviously. The tragic shooting of 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Korbel in Liverpool. And, we really want to go beyond just the headlines with you to try to understand the bigger picture here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to do that, well, we're turning to, I think, a really powerful voice on this, Darren.
And he's not just any voice, is he? I mean, talking about this case.
No, not at all. Darren, he's a former gang member himself.
Right.
And now he's turned into this really outspoken anti-crime advocate.
Right.
And his message, especially about Olivia's murder, it's raw, it's honest, and honestly, it's kind of brutal. Like, he does not hold back at all.
No, he doesn't.
So we're going to be kind of dissecting, I guess, his YouTube video today. And, it's one of those things where you really hear the authenticity in his voice because of his past.
Oh, that's it, isn't it? It's that real-world experience, that firsthand knowledge that I think makes his perspective so incredibly valuable here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been there. You can tell he's seen that underbelly of this world that we only kind of hear about,
Yeah, for sure.
And what he's arguing, and I think this is so important, is that what happened to Olivia, it's not just, a one-off tragedy. It's like a symptom of something much bigger. He points directly at organized crime.
Yeah, and specifically, the drug trade. I mean, that's really what he's talking about. And I think what's fascinating about his take is how he connects the dots. He shows how this whole illicit industry, it embeds itself within communities. It becomes almost inescapable.
Yeah. He uses this phrase, it's like a disease.
Right.
And it's disturbing, but it feels accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But then he takes it even further because he starts talking about this code of silence that's taken hold, this real reluctance, especially in these communities, to cooperate with law enforcement.
Yeah.
And he's saying, that's a huge roadblock to actually breaking this cycle of violence.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not even just about, being tight-lipped. It's deeper than that, right? It's this deep-seated mistrust of authorities, this fear of retaliation, which, let's be honest, it has very real consequences for people. And what's interesting is he goes way back. He talks about the history of Liverpool.
Right.
Highlighting how those tensions between the community and the police, how long that's been going on. They've been festering for years and years and years.
And that leads to that whole snitches get stitches mentality.
Exactly.
Which he says is, it's ingrained in kids from such a young age.
Right.
And it's chilling. He describes it really as like a learned behavior.
Yeah, it's about self-preservation, isn't it? When you really get down to it, it's like, how do I keep myself safe? But you do have to ask, at what cost? It's this very complex social dilemma because you're trying to balance your own personal safety with this pursuit of justice.
Right.
And in these communities that are grappling with organized crime, those lines get so blurred, it's really hard to see, which way is up sometimes.
And, it's interesting because he doesn't just, leave it there.
Yeah.
It's like he's saying this don't snitch thing. It's not just about keeping quiet. It warps your whole sense of what's right and wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
He uses this phrase group gang mentality. And it's almost like he's saying it's like this distorted lens that the young people are looking through.
It's like they can't even see straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's really striking, I think, is how he connects that mentality to this whole glorification of a certain kind of lifestyle, you know what I mean?
Sure,
He talks about the music they listen to.
Right.
The movies they watch.
Oh, yeah.
Even things like amateur boxing matches.
Yeah, it's all connected.
It's all intertwined, yeah.
And he makes this point about violence basically becoming entertainment.
Yeah.
It's almost like a rite of passage in some of these communities, And it really makes you think about how that desensitizes young people.
Oh, absolutely.
To the very real consequences.
It becomes normal.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can't discount the influence of media here, especially on young minds. It's this crazy feedback loop. Life imitates art, imitates life.
It's true.
And he's right. I mean, it normalizes it. In some ways, it even glamorizes this lifestyle that's incredibly dangerous.
It's dangerous, it's toxic, and this is what it keeps coming back to. He's saying the real division, in these communities, it's not, about race or religion or anything like that.
No.
It's about those who are kind of caught in this web of organized crime
Yeah.
versus those who are just trying to live their lives.
Yeah. He's really challenging us to look beyond these surface level things that we tend to focus on and see the deeper systemic issues that are at play.
Yeah.
And this is what I like about him. He doesn't just like leave us there with this grim picture.
No. He turns it around, doesn't he?
He does.
He makes this really impassioned plea for a change in mindset.
Yeah.
Like, he's calling for people to stand together. He wants them to break free from this culture of fear that's keeping them silent.
He's saying, like, enough is enough.
Mm.
You know, we can't live like this anymore. But, he also acknowledges that speaking out against these guys, these organized crime guys, it's terrifying.
Oh, absolutely.
It's potentially life-threatening. It's not just as simple as, just finding your voice, right?
No, it's not that easy. There needs to be real protection in place.
Absolute
Support systems.
Support systems, yeah.
Because the reality is people are putting their lives on the line if they come forward. And, he seems to be advocating for more than just, the standard witness protection programs. He's talking about actually creating real, viable alternatives for young people.
Yeah.
Give them opportunities so they don't feel like they have to get sucked into this world.
Exactly. Break the cycle, right?
Yes, exactly. Break the cycle.
Education, job training, mentorship programs, things that offer hope,
Hope, yeah.
Yeah.
A path forward.
A path forward that doesn't involve crime.
That doesn't involve looking over your shoulder constantly.
Yeah.
And I think this is where his own story, it becomes so powerful. I mean, he is living proof that change is possible.
Yeah.
He went from being a part of the problem to being a voice for change.
And that's what makes, that's what gives his message such weight. It's one thing to talk about these issues, theoretically, but he's speaking from this place of deep personal experience.
It's authentic.
Exactly.
And you can hear it, you can hear the urgency in his voice, especially when he talks about, what happens if they don't get justice for Olivia?
Yeah.
What if another innocent life is lost because things haven't changed? It's like, he's terrified.
He's seen it happen.
And he's seen it happen before.
Exactly.
And he doesn't want to see it happen again.
It's like this tragedy, what happened to Olivia, it's like it's exposed these cracks in the system,
Right.
These deep-seated problems that have been, festering for years.
Yeah.
And now, now the question is, okay, what are we going to do about it?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
It really is. And you know what? He doesn't try to sugarcoat it or anything. He actually compares, and this is kind of wild, he compares what's happening in places like Liverpool to like failed states.
Wow.
Yeah, like places where, the rule of law, it's basically non-existent.
It's a powerful comparison. He's basically saying, like, when organized crime, when it's allowed to just flourish like that, unchecked, it's like it creates this whole other system, this shadow system,
Right.
Where right and wrong, it all gets messed up.
Yeah, and that's, I think, where this whole code of silence thing, it's not just like a side issue. It's central to everything he's talking about, because he's saying, like, breaking that code, it's not snitching. It's about, like, taking back your community.
Yeah.
Protecting the people who need protecting.
It's about, this shift, right, from just thinking about yourself, thinking about how do I stay safe, to a true sense of, like, collective responsibility.
Right.
It's understanding that, staying silent, it usually helps the bad guys. It doesn't actually help the victims.
And that's a message that, it goes way beyond just like gangs and organized crime, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It applies everywhere.
Yeah, and he takes it there. He starts talking about, like, situations of abuse.
Yeah.
Especially like child abuse, and how, this don't snitch mentality, it can have absolutely devastating consequences in those cases too.
It's heartbreaking, really, because it prevents people from getting the help they desperately need, and it all comes down to fear, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, when you really get to the core of it, it's like he's calling for a fundamental change.
He is, yeah.
Like, it's not just about, more cops on the street or stricter laws or anything like that.
It's deeper than that.
It's deeper, yeah. It's this understanding that everyone has a part to play.
Everyone, yeah.
If you want to create a safe future, a future where, tragedies like what happened to Olivia, they don't happen anymore.
Right. And that starts with trust, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Trust in law enforcement, trust in community leaders, and I think, maybe even most importantly, trust in each other.
Yeah.
Because without that, I mean, where are we? It's a huge task, but I think G shows us it's not impossible.
And that's what makes his story, it's heartbreaking, obviously, because of how we're even talking about all of this. But it's hopeful
It is, yeah.
because he's living proof that
Yeah.
that people can change, even when the odds seem, stacked against them.
Absolutely. And that's what we have to hold on to, that there is hope, that things can get better, but it's going to take all of us working together to make that happen.
It really is.
Mm.
Well, I think that's a good place to maybe wrap things up. And as always, we really appreciate you diving deep with us on this, and we hope that you'll continue to join us as we explore these really important, complex and challenging issues that are facing all of us, really.